A day ago, at a top UN meet on the climate, the Prime Minister set a series of ambitious goals for India's climate targets, promising to drastically reduce India's dependence on polluting sources of energy. Among the goals set by him, that by the year 2030, in just less than 10 years, India will meet 50% of its energy requirements from clean, renewable energy. And also by the same period, will reduce carbon emissions by 1 billion tons. And by the year 2070, India will achieve the target of what is called net zero emissions, which means that what you emit is balanced out with what you absorb. Now, while that speech drew praise from the global press and commentators, there have been questions over whether these goals are realistic. Joining me tonight on the show, we have with us exclusively Union Power Minister R.K. Singh. Thank you very much indeed, Singh Saab, for joining us on the program. Now, while these are very laudable goals outlined by the Prime Minister, some are asking, are they realistic? Because the Prime Minister says that we will now have 500 gigawatts of non-fossil or clean energy capacity in 10 years, while currently our entire capacity, clean and polluting like coal, is itself 400 gigawatts. So this almost makes it seem that coal will be done away with in just 10 years' time. Is that realistic, sir, given how dependent we continue to be on coal-based power?
Srinivasan, our total capacity today is 388 gigawatts.
Yes.
And by 2030, our total established capacity is likely to be about 820 gigawatts.
Right.
Our demand is likely to double.
Yes.
Now, out of this 388 gigawatts, we already have about 154 gigawatts which are non-fossil fuel. 147 is renewable.
Correct.
And about 7,000 megawatts, that is 7 gigawatts is nuclear.
Yes.
So we already have 154 gigawatts which is non-fossil fuel.
Right.
And we have another 63 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity under construction.
Yes.
I'm just talking about renewable energy capacity.
Yes.
I'm not talking about non-fossil fuel. I'm not including nuclear in that.
Right.
Now, if you take just renewable energy capacity, the capacity which is installed and the capacity which is under construction, it already adds up to about 210 gigawatts.
Right.
So we are already at 210 gigawatts. Srinivasan, you know, we had pledged in COP21 in Paris that by 2030, 40% of our capacity will be from non-fossil fuel sources.
Sure.
We are already at 39%. So we will reach 50% and we will reach 500 gigawatts of established renewable energy capacity. I have no doubts whatsoever.
Yes.
We are already at 200. I just finished, Srinivasan.
Yes.
So we are already, if you take the capacity installed and under installation, it's already 210 of renewable. Yes.
Okay, that's fine. You're saying that we already set fairly ambitious targets during the Paris, panel, and we've already come pretty close to achieving them. But I think the important thing which people are asking,
we had said that.
I know, but let me ask the question. The important thing here is that what we're saying is that while we are increasing our clean energy capacity, we will continue to still depend heavily on coal, because coal continues to remain 50% of our installed capacity and 70% of generation. According to your government's own data, 70% of power generation is still based on coal. So that will still remain.
No, right now, Srinivasan. Right now, you would say that it's about 70%. By 2030, it will come down to, 30-35%. That's it. Because we are going to add by 2030, our plans are, in fact, we have drawn up plans carefully. And our plans are that by 2030, we will have at least 560 gigawatts. So 500 gigawatts we shall cross. Just like, the target we set for ourselves to be achieved by 2030, I am achieving by next year. So I will reach 40% of my established capacity from non-fossil fuel sources next year.
But Singh Saab, if you're saying that by 2030 we are going to plan to, we're going to start phasing out coal production or phasing out coal power, it's only going to be 30-40%. How does that?
See, our demand
how
is
does
growing.
that? Okay.
No,
Srinivasan. I'm saying, how does that reconcile with? No, one second. How does that reconcile with just yesterday? The coal minister once again reiterated that Coal India, which is our main coal producer, should aim at producing 1 billion tons of coal a year. Currently, it's about 600 million tons. So here we are talking of doubling our coal capacity in the next 2 years.
No, not doubling. No,
well,
not
from
doubling.
600
right
to 1 billion is almost doubling. Okay, let's say it's still an increase of 400 million tons. It's a big
jump. May I answer?
Yes. How does that reconcile then with saying we're shifting to cleaner energy?
Will you listen to the answer?
Yes.
Srinivasan, will you listen to the answer?
Yes, sir.
Now, the answer is this, that our demand is growing hugely, right? Now, I need to meet that demand. Now, that huge growth in demand, I am meeting mostly by renewable energy, clean energy. As far as coal is concerned, that coal, in percentage terms, will shrink, but not in absolute terms because of the huge increase in demand. I mean, by demand, every month on month, is about 8 to 10,000 to 12,000 megawatts more than it was in the corresponding period last year and the year before.
Okay.
And this huge demand will continue to grow. And why is it growing? Number one, our economy is growing. Number two, we added 2.82 crore, 28 million new consumers. They're all buying air conditioners, the air coolers, fans, television sets, etc.
Sure.
So you have this huge demand increase. Now that demand, for meeting that demand, our sort of plan for 2030 is 500 plus gigawatts of renewable energy, and plus you have nuclear, and plus you will have coal. But coal will shrink from the present 60%, 65%. To 70, it will shrink down, or 70%, it will shrink down to about 35%. That's it.
But in absolute capacity terms, you're saying that's because absolute capacity I understand now.
Absolute capacity terms.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. The overall capacity is going to increase.
In absolute capacity,
coal will continue to remain roughly the same. So its percentage as a percentage of the overall will shrink. But let me ask you this, sir, that
it will shrink. Yeah, and now just hold on. One correction, Srinivasan. The coal capacity will not remain the same. The coal capacity will also increase. It will increase marginally, but it will increase.
Okay.
But and this is despite adding 500 gigawatt plus of renewable energy. Our country is growing, Srinivasan, and I need energy to sort of meet that growth requirement.
I am trying to understand this. That
yes, Srinivasan.
If we still continue to consume, if we are talking about still consuming about 1 billion tons of coal produced domestically, we also, by the way, annually import somewhere around 600-700 million tons of coal. And if that is still going to be a large chunk of our energy basket, whether it's 30%, 40%, 50%, isn't that still then not fully freeing us from the environmental and other human consequences of coal-based power?
Now, Srinivasan, number one, we don't import 600 million. In earlier years, our import was about 44 million. That's it. And today, it's just about 10 to 15 million. That's it. So that's as far as import is concerned. And insofar as the coal consumption is concerned for generating power, it depends on the size of your economy. The economy needs energy. No? It depends on the size of the economy and the energy intensity of our GDP. Now we have already brought down the energy intensity of our GDP by 20. Let me finish. By 28% already. We had said that we'll bring it down by 33 to 35% by 2030. Now the Prime Minister has sort of announced an ambitious target of bringing down the energy intensity of our economy by 50% by 2030. So that is what we'll do.
Okay, so that is
that's
how you
huge.
will adjust this.
Yes.
So the question I want to ask you, though,
Srinivasan,
okay.
let me finish.
So the
I
question
haven't
in people's
finished.
mind is,
Srinivasan.
Yes.
I haven't finished. Srinivasan, I haven't finished.
Okay, sir, go ahead.
Now you see the thing is that an average Indian emissions are 1/3 of the world average.
Yes.
Our India, our per capita emissions are 1/3 of the world average. The per capita emissions of the developed countries are 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 11 times the world average.
Yes.
What needs to be done is for all those countries who are spewing at 5 times, 6 times the world average, they need to come down to at least the world
Absolutely.
average. We are 1/3 of the world average.
Absolutely.
And we have a right to grow. And we have a right to grow, Srinivasan. Yes.
Absolutely, I fully agree with you. But here is what the opposition is saying. This is what people like Jairam Ramesh, former environment minister, are saying, that it's one thing to make these big promises about cleaning up the environment and energy when you're at global conferences, but when it's India, this government, he says, is systematically dismantling environmental protections and regulations, one after the other.
May I answer?
Yes.
Okay, now Srinivasan. You see, the thing is that we are the only country. I mean, Jairam Ramesh doesn't know what he's talking about. We are the only country, only major economy whose actions are consistent with a sub-2-degree rise in global temperature. We are the only G20 country and the only major economy whose performance in energy transition is more than what we had promised in our NDCs in COP21. We are the only G20 country and the only major economy. What is he talking about? We are the only country.
I'll tell you, I'll answer that question.
Just hold on, I haven't finished.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I've answered it, and I still have a lot more to say.
But if I can just come in for a second, because you asked what is the point he's making.
Has expanded.
This is the point he's making. He's saying that while you're speaking all this talk in Glasgow, there are proposals to amend the Forest Conservation Act. There are proposals to dilute the Environmental Protection Act. There are proposals to bring one overarching law to bring everything under one law. You're diluting coastal regulation rules. The draft Environment Impact Assessment regulations are making a mockery of the entire assessment process.
Now, I told you exactly what our record was. Our record started in 2014 after our government came to office. And as I said, we made a promise in COP21 in Paris, and we gave our NDCs, and we are beyond that. We are the only country in the world which is beyond that. Now, he is talking about the regulations. Srinivasan, the type of regulations which he put into place has been delaying our projects across the board. If any of our enemy countries wanted to hamper our growth, our economic growth, he could not have done better than what Jairam Ramesh did by putting all these, the roadblocks to development. Okay. We are developing, we shall continue to develop, we shall continue to grow, and at the same time, we shall grow in a clean manner.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Basically, none of these countries have been able to actually talk to us. Yes.
Okay, let me ask you this in conclusion. So, what you're saying overall is that, because this is a big question people have, that as you talk about phasing towards away from coal and giving greater weightage to cleaner energy sources, the coal economy, as you know, is huge. Coal India employs about 2.6 lakh people. The railways earn around 27,000 crores from moving imported and domestic coal. Now, will any of this get affected? Will coal mines start to get shut down? And if so, what will happen to the people who work there?
Srinivasan, when you first you asked your first question, you already answered this one.
Okay.
Your first question, and I answered that, was that our coal capacity is going to stay, the percentage it occupies in our energy basket will come down. But that does not mean that the capacity will come down in absolute terms. So those workers will be there. That's
the workers are there, the mines will all be there.
And another thing, Srinivas.
Yes.
And another thing, yes, the only thing is that it will occupy a smaller space in our energy basket. That's the point.
I see.
Our growth will be powered by renewable energy. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much indeed, Singh Saab, for joining us. Thanks very much indeed, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.